The Purge Season 2, Episode 9, Hail Mary. Now, this is the second to last episode, so we only got one more before the season finale. This episode starts with this Pee-wee's Playhouse kind of explanation to kids about the Purge, which I thought was a really interesting thing to explore. Like, how do you tell kids about the Purge? That's not something that ever crossed my mind. There's plenty of things that in my life, in my reality, there's plenty of things where, I think about it like, oh shit, man. All right, how am I going to tell my kids about this? And it's not the typical things you would think. Of course, it's me, so it's like completely outlandish things that no one ever thinks to even discuss. But there's all sorts of things that I'm dreading talking to my kids about because to me, I can't make any sense of them in the world. And I'm just like, how do I tell my kid about this? I really don't know. It's embarrassing. I feel like humans have made a lot of embarrassing decisions. So the Purge would be, if I lived in the Purge universe, I would definitely be one of those things where I'd be like, oh my God, how do I tell my kids that we have to murder each other in order to feel, catharsis and freedom and, that's tough. So let's leave it to some, Blue's Clues type character. We'll just push it off, the responsibility off onto them. Kind of like sex ed in school. I'm all for sex ed in school. I think it should exist. But realistically, that's the parent's job. And they're trying to shove it off onto somebody else and be like, hey, you teach them about it. It's too awkward for me. Drop your awkwardness and tell your fucking kid one of the most important things they'll ever learn in their goddamn life, you pussy. Anyways, all right. So, and this is where, of course, we get to see Baby Ben. Now, Baby Ben in this is probably what? 6, 8, somewhere in that area. And he's in college. So this is at least 10 years prior. Now, I had talked about how in previous episodes, previous movies, what's the timeline of the Purge? By the election year, when the Purge just kind of comes to its end, and the first Purge in the first Purge movie, what's that time gap? I need to look that up so I know what the hell I'm talking about and where this actually lines up in the timeline, because the Purge existed at least 10 years prior to this season as we know it. So where, like, was that like the first Purge right there where the new founding fathers had come out? They always called themselves the new founding fathers, so they're not new 20 years later, 30 years later. But I can't really gauge it off of something like that. But I'm gonna have to look up the timeline where the hell this falls. Like, how close are we election year at this point? And how many years did it go on? Somebody, I'm sure, will have the research on that and will leave me a link or a comment below telling me. Anyways, all right, so we've got Ryan, and he is going to that auction. I have to say this episode was pretty lackluster for me. For a lot of setup, for a lot of events, I felt like a lot of them did, and I shouldn't say a lot of them because there's only like 3 or 4 things going on in here, but I just felt very underwhelmed by a lot of stuff in here. Let's start first with the Ryan stuff and going to get his buddy. So they go to this party and they give him like repeater rifles from the, Old West. And there's a bunch of hunters out there and they release them into the wild, dangerous game style. And I'm thinking, oh man, this is gonna be awesome. They're going to be having to take on a whole group of people. They're going to be coming at them with guns. They're going to have to shoot their way out of there. There's going to be casualties. There's going to be losses. Like, this is going to be brutal. They only deal with, just so coincidentally happens to be there, the guy whose house that they broke into earlier in the season just so happened to be there. And he's the only person who sees them. He's the only person who notices that they're with the prisoner. He's the only person that gives them any guff. Like, that's it. And not only that, but he's able to take Ryan from his, his comrades there, drag him away, bury him alive, and then last second they come and shoot him in the head. Also, while this time they're getting these prisoners who no one else found but them. They just have the keys, unlock them, and that's it. They're just gone, they're done, that's that. No hunters come into play at all. Billy Blair was one of the was one of the inmates that was being hunted there. And he's actually been on my podcast for his movie Cherokee Creek with Todd Jenkins. So it was pretty cool seeing him. I'm like, hey, that guy's been on my podcast. I know that dude. So I felt famous for a second. I was like, hey, I know him. He's in this show. I talked to him on my show. I'm famous by proxy. How cool am I? But anyway, so they're with the prisoners. And they just uncuff them. And they're like, thanks, man. And then they're just gone. I guess they ran off. Maybe they got shot to death. Who knows? But they just come. They shoot the guy in the head. They unbury Ryan. And then they just leave. They're just in their truck driving away. And I was like, they got off the grounds that easily? They just walked right out? No one shot him? No one found him? No one saw them? The hunting thing and all of that, getting their friend back, was it? They just went to this place, bought their way in, shot one guy, and that's that? They got out of there that simply? If they got out of there that simply, then how did the prisoners not get out of there that simply? What more did they have that the prisoners didn't have? A couple old Western style guns taking on all of those really heavily armed security guards around the place? They just got right to their car, jumped in, and drove off? Really? No explanation at all? No issues? That's some fucking nonsense. That actually angered me. When they were in the car, I was like, that's it? That's them getting their buddy back? And then they're like, we tipped off the jackals. Now we need to go steal the money from them. Moving on to that. What? That's it? I know I'm sounding like a bitch here. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, I'm whining here, but damn, a lot of setup for nothing. You can tell my voice is starting to get high-pitched. What the fuck, man? But seriously. And then Esme's story. She gets in a car wreck. She gets out of the car. She runs. She uses that little thing. Gets in the building. Closes the door. The guy comes for her. And somehow, 95-pound Esme is able to hold a door from a guy who looks like he can fucking bench press tanks. And she sits there and she holds and she pushes it. And the guy gets his arm in the door. Once he got his arm in the door, she's fucked. There's no way she could have prevented him from getting in there. Zero chance. Zero fucking chance. Somehow, the magic of editing got that guy's arm out of the way, and then she closed the door and it locked. Come on. Just come on. That actually annoyed me too. There's no fucking way. If you currently are a big dude and you have a small girl with you to practice to do this for me, go ahead. Have her try to hold a door that you're trying to open. Then get your arm in the door, especially, but even then, I don't even care. Just try to open the door. There's no fucking way that this 250-pound guy who looks jacked as shit, he looks muscular as all hell, could not pull that door away from Esme. I know I'm sounding nitpicky here, but this is all Esme does in the episode. This is it. This is her one scene, and it doesn't even make any fucking sense. Yeah, she's got a $500,000 bounty on her head. This guy sees her, chases her. She goes, she hits the thing, boom, blacks out the building for 60 seconds. You know, Jurassic Park goes offline. And then she goes in, and that's it. That's it. That's all we get from her. Then the Marcus storyline. Okay, so here we are with Marcus's storyline. This whole huge setup about this, you know, he's prepping with guns. This family his ex-girlfriend or his ex-wife or whoever, the woman of his kid comes with her dude, and they're there to, you know, fight these guys off. I'm thinking war. This shit's gonna get nuts. It's gonna go straight up like John Wick, man. They're gonna get into this freaking battle. What happens? They booby trap a door, essentially. You know, grab the guy, pull him in, stitch him up, say, we'll trade for this guy. They trade him out. Then he tries to make amends with him. He stabs his wife. Could have stabbed her anywhere. Stabs her like right here. Which, yeah, I mean, it's not a good thing, obviously. But it's like, okay, I thought he was going to just slit her throat dead right there. They're going to have this big fight. Everyone outside was going to go nuts. But no. All of that prepping, all of the guns and standing around and this whole war that's kind of like alluded to in the show, nothing. They didn't fight a single one of them. Nothing. They just walk right out the front door and they're like, and they all turn on him. For what? Why did they turn on him? Because he wanted to kill the wife too? What the fuck did they think was going to happen going into this house with tons of guns? You don't think she might get killed in the crossfire? That wasn't part of the plan? Oh, well, we can't kill the wife, right? You really think the wife was going to survive that night? You really think she's going to just go down without a fight to protect her husband? Like, you had to know going in there the wife was probably going to die. You had to know going in there that you saw, if you're probably scouting that place in preparation to go in there and storm the place, that 2 other people came in, and those other 2 people are probably there to fight, so you're probably going to have to kill those fucking people. So these people weren't committed to this at all, not one of them, nothing, no. I could understand a few of them being like, oh, this, I don't know, what was I thinking? But none of them, 0? They just let them go, there's no fight at all? It's all just set up for nothing, man. It actually kind of irritates me to talk about it. Like, it's like, okay, and I'm all about subversions of expectations and all that, but this, not when it's completely contrary and sets up to nothing. It's just kind of like, all right. And then the Ben thing. So Ben goes and he grabs his friend and he makes him kills the guy. That's all right. That's good. All right, that makes sense. But then they go out on Purge Night, and the Purgers end up purging on Ben, which I thought was kind of cool. Like, he goes out there and he thinks he's going to be, part of the crew. He's going to be part. And I always think that, like, aren't Purgers all purging each other? Like, do they just look at each other and like, oh, well, they're wearing masks and are killing people, so I guess they're on my side. Like, people would just purge each other. It would just be Purgers purging on Purgers, and that was anybody who was out would be fair game. They'd all be killing each other. But in the movies and all this, they always portray them like there's unlucky people out there that want nothing to do with the purge, and that's who's getting purged on. And then all the purgers that are out there kind of have an unspoken arrangement with one another. Like, oh, no, I'm part of your team. Like, we don't kill each other. And if that's the case, man, you just go, and if you're locked out there, if you can't find something, then just go out and grab a mask and pretend you're part of the crew. I don't know. But here we go. So I like that they turn on him. I like that he kind of goes out there and he's chasing his buddy there, and these purgers turn on him. And I love that Marcus hits him with the car and they put him in the back of the car like, oh, you don't know who the hell you just picked up. So I think the Ben stuff is fine. Like, it's good. I like it. I don't love it. I would have loved to see Ben go on a rampage. When these guys started surrounding him, once there was too many of them, I knew there was an issue. But when it was just a few of them, I thought his buddy was going to be watching from behind, and he was going to see what a psychopath Ben actually was. That all these other purgers were there, and I thought Ben was just going to go to town on these guys. That he was going to freaking just hack them to bits. That he was going to show off his total lunacy in this. But no, he kills one and he runs for it, and then he gets hit by a car and he's pulled into Marcus's truck. Which I like that setup, but I don't know. Ben I would have liked to have saw him purge some purgers. I thought that would have been cool, but there you go. So yeah, I think that's everything. I never even looked at my notes. I don't even know why I freaking took them, but there you go. What do you guys think? Were you underwhelmed with a lot of the decisions in this so far, in this episode? Because I sure as hell was. I've been raving about all the setup for this. I've been so excited. The last episode, I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Where's this going to go? And it all kind of just went into really boring, uneventful places for me. I was just like, that's what they're doing? This is where they're going with that? Okay. So, what do you guys think? Let me know. See you for the season finale next week. Adios.